your packet, you have a memo from the Texas County Clerk, Peggy Seiler, and it reads, "This is to certify that the municipal election held in Texas County and the state of Missouri on the 7th day of April 2026. The following results, official results of votes cast. Houston R-1 School District of Texas County. Board members, 3-year term, vote for 3. Dustin Hartman, 876. Darren Ice, 903. Cressy Nagavar, 869. And Bob Wolf, 402. Special bond election, Houston R1 School District of Texas County. Proposition Kids. I'm not going to read the entire proposition Kids. Yes votes, 742. No votes, 451. She certified the election results, so we just need a motion to approve those results.
Make that motion. Second.
Those in favor? Any opposed? All right, now we can swear in your board members.
Wherever you want this.
Everyone's got to stand up or?
You want to come up here? Yeah. We'll go right.
You guys.
Well, here we go.
We'll do it here.
Everybody's getting up. We're all starting to say, is everyone getting sworn in tonight or?
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I do
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Missouri,
of the State of Missouri,
and that I will
and that I will
faithfully
faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of school director
of school director
in and for
and for
the Houston R1 School District,
the Houston R1 School District,
County of Texas,
County of Texas,
State of Missouri,
State of Missouri,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
according to law.
according to law.
Well, congratulations. We're going to move on to the election of officers. I'll facilitate the next 2 items, President, Vice President, and then we will turn it over to the President. At this time, the floor is open for nominations for President.
I nominate Jennifer Sheets.
Second that nomination.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Vice President, any nominations for this position?
I will nominate Darren Ice. Second.
We have a first, we have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Congratulations, Ms. Sheets. All yours.
All right, so we need to have nomination for secretary treasurer.
I nominate Jeff Dennis.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, MSBA delegate first.
I nominate Charlotte Balaam.
I second. Any discussion?
Do I need to nominate an alternate?
Not yet, I'll do that
Okay.
second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and an alternate, MSBA delegate alternate.
Nominate Tressie.
I'll second.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, appoint executive board secretary.
I nominate Tony Baffin.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay. All right, special recognitions.
All right, I think we have, do we have everyone here? We've got our teachers of the year. I don't know if we have everyone here, but we're going to recognize those that are here. So, Ms. Lee, so if you were teacher of the year, please come forward. Right, Ms. Weber, go ahead and come on up. We also have our support staff member of the year. I'm just going to read just a little bit. Congratulations to Mrs. Meyer. Mrs. Jessica Meyer was named the elementary teacher of the year. Ms. Meyer is known for the dedication and care she brings to her classroom every day. She continually looks for creative, engaging ways to help students learn, grow, and to reach their full potential. And she's a pretty big math whiz if you didn't know. Her passion for education and commitment to her students make a lasting impact on both inside and outside the classroom. We appreciate Ms. Meyer and all that she does in and out of the classroom, and we thank you for your dedication to the district. So congratulations, Mrs. Meyer, for Elementary Teacher of the Year. And also, interesting fact, when I was an elementary principal, Ms. Meyer taught me about subitizing. I didn't even know what that word was.
I thought we were going with the bad story.
And also, she called down that there was a bat in her room and it ended up being just a big dust bunny. So that is Mrs. Meyer. Congratulations. All right. Houston Middle School Teacher of the Year is Miss Micah Lee. Congratulations to Miss Lee. She's made a lasting impact on her students each and every day. She has such a phenomenal passion for social studies, and it shines through the work that she does in her classroom and also through her students. And I know that firsthand. She creates fun, engaging, and productive learning environment while maintaining extremely high expectations in her classroom. She wears many hats in the middle school, and we appreciate all that she does and her family has dedicated to our district. And so we thank you, Miss Lee, for all the work that you've done. So, Middle School Teacher of the Year, Michael Lee. All right, and then Mr. Vanderbilt is not here, but he was the high school teacher of the year and also the district teacher of the year. So I'm just going to read a little bit about Mr. Vanderbilt. Most of you guys are familiar with Mr. Vanderbilt, but he is our high school welding instructor. Mr. Vanderbilt has been an amazing addition to our staff for several years. His leadership and dedication has really shined and helped our high school welding program develop and prosper into one of the most respected and sought after programs in the area. As most of you guys know, we appreciate all the work that he does inside our school district and also outside of the community. So we appreciate Mr. Vanderbilt and congratulate him on Teacher of the Year and also District Member of the Year. And then we also have our support staff of the year, Miss Tina Weber. Miss Tina Weber is a dedicated member of our food service team. I've also joked, I also believe she's part of our social media team. She does a phenomenal job spreading the good work of the district, especially in food service, and so we appreciate that. But she does play an important role in making sure students and staff are well taken care of every single day. She has a strong work ethic, positive attitude, and willingness to help others feel valued in the work that they do. I'm not sure that I know a harder worker than Tina Weber. Whether she's serving meals, supporting coworkers, or just preparing for special events, she goes above and beyond all the time. And so we see it and we appreciate it. So support member of the year was Tina Weber.
Okay, ready? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Ms. Steelman also has a couple recognition.
I wanted to take a moment to recognize our building specialists. Our building specialists in each one of our buildings, they serve as mentors for our first and second year teachers. Our elementary, we have Destiny Wilson, middle school is Micah Lee, and high school is Randy Wilson. They serve, like I said, as the very first line of questions when new teachers come in, and even the teachers who've been here for a while and forget what we're doing sometimes. And so they serve as mentors, as every kind of their first line tech support, all of the things. And so we really appreciate all that they do every single day for our teachers, our school, and our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Make a motion.
Second. Those in favor? Any opposed? Do we have any staff or patron comments on agenda items? All right, old business, job descriptions, building principal and SLE.
Just continue with the rotation. In your packet, you've got those amended job descriptions, and also you can see who holds those positions in the district at this time. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to field those. Otherwise, I recommend a motion to approve those.
Make the motion.
Second.
Those in favor?
Since we're talking about job description and Ms. Fischel is here, Ms. Fischel is the one who's doing all the work in the job description area, so I just want to publicly thank you for that. Ms. Fischel's done a great job having those ready every single month that we're rotating through those. So thank you, Ms. Fischel. Sorry, we do not give you a certificate.
PRTC change proposal request.
In your package, you have a change proposal request. It is number 2. It is for, I provided you guys several options, and this was the only one that I'm going to make a recommendation for. It is to remove the FRP panels off of the project. The best way to describe the FRP panel is really the shower board that they were going to put on the exterior. I think we'll have to think about something. I'm not certain that that is the best solution in the project, so I make a motion to remove those from the project. They were going to be 4x8 sheets of that shower board around the exterior of the wall, and I'm not sure that that was going to be the best use for those funds in that space. Still, no, it's
it's-
shower board, that's what the shower board. Yeah,
It's
sheet
like,
vinyl.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have to have it, we have to have it in the restaurant, in the back room.
Yeah, we may want to consider that in the future, but I'm not certain. I would hate to invest in that knowing that that's not going to stop what I think is going to damage the whole. I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Any other discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? New business, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Those in favor? Any opposed? Resolution for sale of Series 2026 general obligation bonds.
That's us. That's you. Thanks again for having us. It's glad to be back. Congratulations on passing the bond issue last Tuesday. I think Justin's phone call was the first one I got for any of them that we had running in the office. So I was thrilled and then sent out a message to everybody else looking for the passed. So congratulations again. With me is Todd McCracken. He's one of our retired superintendents from East Newton. Helps out a lot with tax rates as well as relating general superintendency type questions that if I get those items refer to Todd. Also with me is Connor Wood. He is one of the analysts in our office. So between the three of us, Todd's going to go over just revisiting the existing debt where you are right now outside of the money bond issue. I'm going to talk about the figures $42,950,000 and how that fits in with the current cash flow, your 80-cent debt service fund levy. And then Connor's going to finish up going over the action item for this evening, the parameters resolution. So highlighting some of the items within there. With that said, turn it over to Tyler.
Okay, Connor passed out the packet information, so I'll just go over the first couple of pages and hand out with, like Courtney said, your existing debt. So the first page, the bottom of the page, it says page 1. So Series 2013 general obligation bonds. You can see they're highlighted. They're currently callable. Over on the left-hand side is the maturity when those will be finalized in 2028. The one thing to note about that when looking at that in the coupon column, the rates are really, really low, so the likelihood of that moving around and a situation where you can refund those is probably highly unlikely. The next page, Schedule 3, Series 2023, that refunded to 2019 bonds. The highlighted portion in the red, the escrow that was approved for the deposit that was approved in August meeting, which then if we'll just turn to the next page is the actually adjusted schedule of those 2023 bonds. Shows the maturity going out to 2039. Again, this is all prior to the new money. And in the next page, is the page I always like looking at as a superintendent because it was a cash flow. Little small print, but if you can read from the left side to the right side, you have your fiscal year, you have your assessed valuation. We're growing that assessed valuation at 2.5%. The light green is all the revenue and the areas that you would be receiving the revenue from your debt service levy. In the middle, dark green is the totals, and then the light blue is the current debt that you have, and then the last two columns, the pink and the blue, are the balances and the payments. And we've got those blown up on the next page so that you can see them a lot better. So we've combined the total physical payments, the middle, the pink, the debt service account balances, and then the total revenue. Those balances, just to remember, that is as of June 30th. That's when the fiscal year ends. So those are the estimated balances. You're paying diagonal. So if you look at 25-26, balances of 453,927, paying the 321,385, and you also have to remember that you have a whole year of collecting tax revenue, which would be coming in at the end of December. The thing to note on that, again, this is as of prior to the bond, so the balances are good in the pink column, so it gives you an opportunity either for prepayments or new money, which is a great segue into new money.
Exactly. So that would have been part of the conversation that we had last August. The fact that your balances are starting to exceed your payments, you're in a position for a no tax rate increase bond issue. Obviously you did that. So with page 6, Schedule 4, this is a sample repayment schedule. Ideally, we would go to market with this. The biggest difference is going to be, I'll talk about it on page 7. Couple things I want to highlight on this. It's a little different than some of the other schools. One, you'll notice that you have 3 principal payments in the very early years, 27, 28, and 29, followed by the remaining principal payments starting in 2040 out to 46. One, a general obligation bond issue can only go out 20 years, hence 2046. We've structured it this way. I'm going to skip the top 3 maturities for a moment. The bottom ones wrap around your existing payments. So currently, your final payment on your 23 refunding bonds is in 2039. This financing picks up where that one ends off. The difference being, because within your ballot language that you have the paying off the PRTC lease, we structured principal payments in those early years in order to assume that those bond payments are there to subsequently pay off the lease financing. So right now you have lease financing that goes out to 2031. This is paying it off 2 years earlier, 2029. The biggest benefit to paying off the lease purchase with bond issue proceeds is it's freeing up that money for operating funds. So you're paying the lease out of Fund 4. This you're paying out of Fund 3 with that dedicated 80-cent debt service fund levy. If you want to look down underneath yield statistics, the second group under true interest costs, this will be something that Connor will point out, but I just want to mention the true interest costs for this financing of 4.75%, as well as the very last line, the weighted average maturity of 14.025 years. So those couple of things Connor's going to talk about that. I just want to point out where they come from. As far as when we actually go to market, because we do not have these rates locked in. You can't close on a financing earlier than 30 days from the election, in case there are questions, contested, that type. So we talk to the board about, here's what we think the rates are going to be, what we're ideally wanting to go to market. In this case, you see that pricing summary. So with those coupons, that 4 and 5%, that's the interest rate the district will pay interest expense on. So if I own some of these bonds, I would get interest income off of those interest rates. However, by purchasing these bonds, you'll notice in that fourth column, their yields ranging from 2.69 to 4.48. These interest rates are just slightly conservative to where the current market is right now, but that is the rate that the investor will realize as of the call date or maturity. Those first three as of maturity. So I'm gonna take that first year, 2040. Assuming I purchase, let's just say I won the lottery and I'm gonna buy this entire maturity. So I've got $170,000 that I'm gonna use of my lottery winnings. I'm going to realize and get interest income on 5%. However, I will only realize a yield, an interest rate of 3.83 as of that 5-year call date, March 1st, 2031. As a result of that coupon being higher than the yield, I'm going to pay more than $170,000 for these bonds. I'm actually gonna pay the district $178,598.60. The additional money over and above the $170,000 is pre-offering premium. You do not pay that back as a district. It's essentially, I am purchasing a higher interest rate and I'm paying a little extra for that. Going through that exact same scenario for each of those maturities, if we go under the table with bid information, you'll see that reoffering premium or discount, it totals just over $96,000. This money is then used to pay the cost of issuance, and then leftover money going into your construction fund for the other projects aside from paying off the lease. Ideally, when we actually go to market, it would be to keep the coupons the same, so the interest expense would come in, the same as what it is that I'm showing on Schedule 4. If we can lower those yields, if the market will bear that, it's going to generate more reoffering premium. You're still paying back the same amount of money, the interest expense would still be the same, but you would get a little extra on top of just that $96,000. How it all works out. On page 8, we have the sources and uses of funds. So we sell $2,950,000. We add in that estimated reoffering premium of just over $96,000. Using just over the $3,046,000, I'm gonna skip over and use the construction funds. $615,000 would be used to pay off the lease, freeing up that operating funds. Under cost of issuance, all of these are one-time fees, so we have legal fees to draft the legal documents. The official statement is the prospectus that's provided to potential investors so they know what you're using the money for and how you're going to pay back the financing. The registrar paying agent fees, this is going to go to the paying agent, so trust company, typically UMB Bank or BOKF. They're the ones that are in charge of ensuring that the investors are paid on a semi-annual basis. It is the only ongoing fee, so it's that $400 setup, $300 each year thereafter that the bonds are outstanding. This is consistent with the other bond issues you have outstanding currently. The underwriting fees and expenses are paid to LJ Hart & Company, and then the registration fee with the Missouri State Auditor, $1,000 to register the bonds with the state. These fees are consistent with what the district had previously approved on our agreement back in January of this year. So after paying off the lease, paying the cost of issuance, the deposit to the construction fund, just over $2,376,000. Looking at the cash flow again. This is identical to what Todd had gone over. The only thing that's different is now we've added in a fourth light blue column on the right side. So I'm just gonna go to the larger blown up page, the last page. If you remember, the balances before on spreadsheet 1 were blowing up very early, 27, 28, 29 as compared to your payments. By adding in the $2,950,000 of new money bonds, you'll notice that your balances more closely track your payments in those earlier years. There are a few years where your payments are more than your balances, but if you remember the timing, you have June 30th, you have a small interest payment in September. Tax bills go out end of November, beginning of December, and you get the majority of your revenue and debt service December, January for your larger March payment. If you were to never refinance or make any prepayments on any of your bond issues as well as this one, you'll notice when we get out to about 2035, 2036, your balances start to exceed your payments again. If nothing else were to happen, that would be the cue that you would be in a position for another no tax rate increase bond issue. However, keeping in mind assessed valuation growth, if it's more than that 2.5%, as well as prepayments and refinancings that you can take advantage of, the likelihood of being able to move forward is probably going to be less than the 2035, 2036 years. But that's something that LJ Hardin Company, on an annual basis, when we do your tax rates, we're looking at to let you know, similar to what we did last summer. So, the bottom line is, we're able to keep the 80-cent debt service fund levy in place. It is an extension by 7 years from where your final payment is on the 23 bonds. It's just, we're paying the same thing. As far as tax bills going up, it's really an assessor thing. But you're keeping that levy rate the same at the 80 cents. Any questions on the numbers? Okay, I'll turn it over to Connor to go over the resolution.
Okay, so the second packet, you all should have in front of you, parameters resolution. I'm just gonna stick around and put the major points, as well as the exhibit A on the back, just so you don't have to get the entire thing. Starting with page number 1, you'll see an all bolded, all capital paragraph. And this kind of summarizes the document, starting off with the first sentence. It says that we were authorizing and directing the issuance and delivery not to exceed $2.95 million, which was approved at the election. And then towards the very end of this paragraph, you are authorizing the establishment of the final terms committee. And this means that the board will be appointing Dr. Coakley as well as Tom Sarkis back in our office to approve the final terms when we do line up investors. Moving to page number 4. For section 2.2, the description of the bonds. This is the same years and amounts that Courtney has presented, but the rates and the yields are blank. This is because we do not have investments lined up yet. When we'll be approving the final one, the rates and yields will be filled. And then going all the way to page 24, section 11.6. This is reminding the district of the continuing disclosure obligation. At the end of each fiscal year, at the end of each year, you'll be submitting your most recent audit, ASBR, and some financial information. This is something the district is currently in compliance with, but you will just have to continue that obligation throughout the term of this financing, and that's something that LJ Hardin Company helps you with the each year. And then at the very back, Exhibit A. So these kind of outline the criteria for this parameter to stay in place when the final terms do come around. Starting with number 1, that the principal amount of the bond shall not exceed the $2.95 million that was approved. The true interest cost, the TIC of the bond shall not exceed 5.25. This gives us a little bit of cushion just in case the market does move, but we're going to jump to 4.7. We project something close to that, but never know. Number 3 is about the redemption, the call feature. We have presented a March 1, 2031 call date. But once again, we give us a little bit of buffer in case we have to movement to 2053, but we don't see that moving less because it should be the March 1, 2031 5-year call feature. Number 4, the weighted average maturity of the bond shall not exceed 15.5 years. This has to do with the scheduling of the time frame as well as the principal amounts when those are getting paid. With the current cash flow, we don't see that changing much. Number 5, the bonds will be purchased by the underwriter, LJ Hardin Company. This just represents our fee, and that our fee will not be increasing from now to the point where we finalize the bonds. And then number 6, the final bond maturity of the bonds will not go later than March 1, 2046, which is what we presented already, and that is already the legal full amount.
Any questions on how this works?
You're going to provide the sale of the bonds to local investors?
Yes. Mr. Huff. James Huff.
He could be one.
He has contacted us already.
Okay.
Yes, so he
But
will be on our
if other
list.
banks are interested,
Yes.
they can reach out?
Yes, he's
Okay.
just one that I know has reached out to us
Okay.
back in January, and then I think he actually sent an email on Wednesday morning. Like, don't forget me. But yes, investors will have an opportunity. We will be marketing them to them. Once we have investors lined up and we have commitments for all of the bonds, that's when we'll reach out to you. As long as it falls within that criteria, we can lock in interest rates on behalf of the board and the district. From there, we will put all the legal documents together for signature and seal. Get that done. We have some back office things, getting stuff registered with state auditor, trading on the financing. And once we have that closing date set, on that date, funds will be delivered to the depository bank or where you want the funds to go. And you close in the financing, start spending money. We'll be in touch as far as paying off the lease as well.
that'd be fantastic, so it frees up those operating costs. Any other questions? All right.
You need a motion?
Yes.
Make the motion in favor of this resolution.
I'll second.
Any other questions or discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do we need a separate motion for the authorization, or does that suffice?
Nope,
Or-
that's
good,
it.
okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Safe travels.
Health insurance plans and utilization.
Yes, so Ms. Fischel's here. I asked her to present just a quick presentation. This is not a recommendation tonight, this is just information. I think it's important as we start thinking about FY27 planning, and health insurance is just one of those pieces. She's just gonna be presenting a little bit about utilization, and so special thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. All right, so like you said, I'm just gonna share a little bit of information, about our health insurance plan and how it's utilized. This information comes from our consortium, the Missouri Educator Trust, and it is for the calendar year 2025. So we'll just go page by page here. The first page really, overviews enrollment. So section 1 is how our subscribers are signing up for the plan, which plans they're signing up for. So the consortium offers 16 different plans. We make 6 of them available to our employees. I think that's wise. 16 would be way too many and it would just confuse the process even more. Insurance is not the most fun topic for all of our employees, so we try to keep it as simplified as possible. I think that the 6 that we offer right now are a good mix. Plans 3 and 4 are low deductible, really high coverage. Plans 8 and 9 are kind of middle ground, kind of average deductible, but still decent coverage. And then plans 12 and 16 are either high deductible health plans, and they are HSA, health savings account eligible. So we've got a good mixture in giving our employees several options there. As you can see, we are predominantly plan 8. Anyone want to take a guess of why that is? That's the one you pay for, yes. So a lot of times, like I said, insurance isn't the most fun topic for our employees, and so they're just looking for the easiest option. That's the plan that they know gets them the highest coverage while not having to pay a penny towards the premium. So 83% in plan 8. Section 2 looks at enrollment by tier. Predominantly employee only, with only 13.3% carrying any dependence on their coverage. Quick note here though, we have 12 husband-wife teams in the district, and they are on their own separate plans. So they are represented in that employee-only tier, even though their spouse is technically also covered by the school insurance. Any question about page 1 enrollment? Okay, page 2 goes more into how our employees are being charged, I guess. So what financial burden, I guess I could say, on the employees through their health plan. So a lot of times when you're looking at a health plan, you're concerned about the deductible, your co-insurance and co-pay amounts, and then the total member out-of-pocket maximum. So starting with deductibles, they're at the top, section 3. This is where things kind of got interesting, kind of shocked me a little bit. So for our members, just the subscriber, nearly half of them had $0 towards their deductible for 2025. So I thought that was interesting. If you increase that and go up to $2,500, 81% are less than $2,500 towards their deductible. Plan 8, which is again what a majority of our members are on, that deductible is $2,500. So you can see that with a majority being under $2,500, there's decent and well-managed deductible exposure for them. That next table down, the
total deductible, that looks at both the subscriber and any dependents they cover, so all, people on the health plan through those school, similar levels, just minor differences there. If you go down to section 4, so of course you all know when you go to the doctor and you have to have a copay, so you've got that amount, but then once your deductible is met, there's co-insurance involved and all that fun stuff. So you can consider that as cost sharing. We have, or had in 2025, 1 in 4 members with $0 cost sharing expenses. Members who did have to pay something, so more than 0 but less than 500, 56% fell in that range. So the key takeaway here is that 81% of our members paid less than $500 in co-insurance and copay charges. So our cost sharing for our members is not playing a significant financial burden on the majority of our members. And then finally in section 5, you've got your total out-of-pocket costs. Again, $0, no out-of-pocket costs were for 21% of our members. So maybe they were just going to their preventative exam that year, or they had 0 claims at all. And then it goes up from there. So in section 5, the key takeaway here is 61% of our members paid less than $500 out-of-pocket costs in 2025. And only 5% exceeded $5,000. Any questions on that page? Okay. All right, section 6 looks at Plan 8 compared to Plans 9 and 15. We offer Plan 8 and Plan 9 right now, like I mentioned before. Plan 15 is the next plan down that is not considered a high deductible health plan, so that's why we're throwing 15 in there. So right now we're paying, or you all are paying and contributing $703 a month for our employees. You can see that next year for Plan 8, that's going to increase $33 to be $736 a month. Plan 9 is $16 higher than the current contribution at $719. And then Plan 15 is $33 less than the current contribution. That next table just shows comparison of some of the coverage between each plan. If it's a red cell, that means that there's a difference between that plan and Plan 8. And if it's a green cell, that means there's no change between that plan and Plan 8. So you can see that Plan 9, you've got just some minor increases, nothing major that wouldn't place a huge financial burden on our members, especially considering the previous page and the deductibles where everyone was at there. When you jump to Plan 15, you're going to see some higher increases, both in the deductible, the out-of-pocket max jumps quite a bit, and then there's some differences between all 3 of the plans with the co-insurance and some co-pays. So in general,
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
So all plans next year, different than previous years, is the emergency room visits. All of them will be $250, and so that will impact our folks here in our district. I know what the consortium's intention was, but all 16 plans have $250 emergency room visit.
Yep.
Okay.
And
That's up for
yeah.
what?
It was different.
It's
It was
different
different
for
for each plan.
Yeah.
It was different for each plan. But they just, 250, they're trying to eliminate folks going straight to the emergency room first.
which is also why they've made the virtual visits $10 copay across the board and urgent care $50 copay, because they're seeing a lot of non-emergent cases going to the emergency rooms. But it's like in our area, it's hard because we don't have those options. All right, any questions? The rest of it is just kind of a summary of the highlights that we already went over. So, any questions for me?
I like this report.
just thought, Ms. Fisher did a great job getting this information, so I thank her, but I thought, when she provided me this information, I thought, this is something you guys, on the front end of decision making, we should have this information, because everybody ultimately wants the best compensation package for our team. And this is just one consideration to think about as we move forward in FY '27. So not a motion, not a recommendation to pull or push or pull insurance at this point, but utilization is important. And this would be, I know she gave you a report on 25, but utilization in previous years is very similar to this for our district. And so just something to consider as we start thinking about a total full compensation package for our staff. So, but especially thank you.
Thank you very much.
We don't, so we're going to have a fire next week.
No,
No?
this is just a motion. Job descriptions, read only, IT director and psychological examiner diagnosis.
Read on that?
SRO agreement.
So we're doing our SRO MOU between the district and the city of Houston. So I've attached the MOU for you, and I will make a recommendation for us to approve that MOU.
I'll make a motion. Any changes?
No major changes. Nope.
I'll second.
Those in favor? Any opposed? 21st century grant, Ms. Gilman.
I just wanted to talk for a minute. There's a grant that's coming open called the 21st Century After School Child Care Center Grant. And so, as we're exploring this, I wanted to kind of just give you a little information. It's a really competitive grant that is open for supplying after-school care. It's usually a minimum of 12 hours per week that we would offer after-school before school care, and then whatever that looks like on Mondays on our hybrid schedule. And so, if we decide to go ahead and go for this grant, I think there's another board meeting between now and when this grant is due that we like to say yes, for sure we're doing this. But it's open every year. It's highly competitive, it's a pretty big win, and so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there to you so that you can know that might be coming up.
And I just want to kind of piggyback on that. I asked Ms. Gilman just to plant the seed of the 21st Century Grant. It's been around for many cohorts. It's not a new grant. We haven't had our name in the hat at least as long as I've been here. I don't think we've ever had our name in the hat. It is a large grant amount for several years. And we're thinking about creative ways to infiltrate our district with revenues that's going to support our students and staff and community. This is just one opportunity. From what I can tell, a lot of the school districts around our area use this type of programming for after-school programming. If you think about the 21st Century Grants, like the YMCA comes and uses our facilities, and we provide them with facilities, and they have a site director, they've got somebody who organizes it, and then they just run the after-school programming on our campus. So that could look a lot of ways. I have found it most common to be at the elementary level, and I'm not throwing the elementary or anyone under the bus. I've had a conversation with Ms. Jarrett this much, and so we've got a lot of work to do before the next time we meet to make a recommendation. There's a lot that goes into it, but we have kind of said no thank you for the last couple of years just because of time and effort. We're not layered with people, and so we've said no thank you. But I think that we're going to be in a position where we're going to be searching for these creative ways to support our kids and community and our school in creative ways. Don't know what that's going to look like, so I don't want to give any kind of pre-assumption of what that could be. We're going to continue to work over the next few weeks. Like I said, I've had this much of a conversation with Ms. Jarrett about this. It could land at the high school. It happens at high school. I'm not certain with transition if it's going to be best in middle school, but we're not saying no to any of it. And I'm kind of pressing this. It's a lot of work in a very short period of time here to get done. So I would say don't be surprised if we say we're going to have to sit this one out again because we can't make it come to fruition before the deadline. But Mrs. Steelman can attest, I'm kind of pushing to make sure that we get good consideration for this 21st century grant.
Is it fully funded?
It's fully funded. It's a fully funded grant, and it goes to a maximum amount. You don't have to go for the maximum amount, but you can go for, the maximum amount is $400,000 per year for 5 years. So you've got a lot of school districts around us that are using the 21st century grant. Some have some great experiences, some have some terrible experiences. One of the challenges we see with the 21st century grant is people. Is keeping people consistent over that period of time, the duration of the grant. And so we have to consider that in kind of our planning. We can't just assume we're going to have all kinds of people that are going to want to do after-school programming. And so we've got some work to do there in terms of interest inventory. But with this type of after-school programming is a good way to supplement, our staff's compensation package. So I don't know that we are or not interested, but that's just one of the areas that some participants communicate could be a challenge. Some don't have any issues. We've called one school and they don't have any issues because the people appreciate 35 or 40 bucks an hour or whatever their rate is. And then some, because you have the discretion to create, how you want your budget to look. And then you have some that they get in that third year and it's just the struggle bus to get people to show up every day. There is a benefit, I think, when you consider this type of grant, because there are things that it does provide the district, and it's not about what it provides the district, as it does, number one, the after-school programming for our kids. You guys know we put out stakeholder surveys. We started that process and kind of getting into that, but we're starting to see that there is folks are interested in some after-school programming, but we still have got to collect more information. So number one, always about what is the program we can provide that's good for our kids. But there could be some indirect benefit to our districts. For example, like at Eminence, they run transportation, adjusted transportation, and they're able to purchase a bus to do that. And so there are some things that could be beneficial to the district to run that program. Again, I've seen applications and they all look different. And so it's really about how we want to gear it. But we want to start and make sure that what the programming we're putting in place is going to be beneficial for our kids, and that we have the staff to continue on to it.
Are there limitations on what we offer, like different programs, types, like areas of interest?
There's lots of, there's some parameters, but as far as what you offer, there are some things about instructional tutoring, or instructional academics.
There's three requirements. One has to be tutoring, they don't offer academic tutoring. The other one is supplemental, like exploration things, we do STEM, we do any of that stuff. And the third one has to be not just parent participation, but parent involvement. Like we have to have the parent nights and things that we offer our community also. Okay, gotcha.
Is the renewal, is that competitive, or is it just a decision if we want to?
So the first year that you get it is the year that you get it, but it's renewable 4 years after, like 4 years.
But that's not competitive.
It's not competitive.
That's not
We just-
competitive.
That's
No.
not, that was,
So like if you follow within your criteria and everything's going good, is it an automatic renewal or how does that work?
I'm not quite sure on that. I do know that there's a lot of reporting that goes along with it. Like it's not like here's 400,000. Yeah, and so we have to keep track of what attendance and all of our budget stuff that goes along with that.
what's the ratio?
16 students to 1.
And then, is it only after or is it before as well?
So there's weird limitations, like if we do it before.
I know this is just,
Yeah.
I'm just curious if.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there, like, if we do it before school, there's a lot of places that do it before school that doesn't have the stay or 4-day week. It has to be 1 hour minimum. So it's not like we could do 30 minutes before school, so.
That was my question too.
Yeah.
So is there a minimum time?
Yeah. And it includes summertime too, so it doesn't have to just be the school year.
And then how's this, with tutoring, how's that work with,
We're like,
yeah.
totally separate. Lots of other school districts are doing that. So, again, I asked the Steelman to plant the seed, and it does seem enticing, but we also have to recognize kind of our capacity to make these things happen. It really seems like a carrot in front of us that really is something to go after. We've said no thank you for a couple of years, and that's why I asked Ms. Steelman to kind of hang on with me, just because in thinking about just the future years of the state budget, just to, if it could be one way that we can provide an additional service to our kids, especially before school or after school programming.
Yep.
But again, lots of conversations, more conversations have to happen with these folks in the back regarding whether we think we can make that work.
And then utilization for the 12 hours, is it just offered or is it actually utilized for us to hit the 12 if we?
Correct. I believe it's just the offered of the 12 hours.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Well, you got to report, what I understand, you got to report your attendance and things of that nature. But based on my limited knowledge so far, I think it's just what's offered.
Okay.
I'm guessing there'd be a few things that we're already paying for to do that we wouldn't have to pay for anymore, technically, kind of.
Could be something like that. I mean, there could be a multitude of different values for the district. But, I think that one thing we've always I think it's going to be maybe a bucket of money that could support an effort that could be needed in our school district, which is before and after school programming. We've talked about it for a long time, I would say, but we've never just sat down and kind of crunched out the details of it. And there's a lot of details of it. And again, it sounds good to me. But it's got to sound good to the principals in the back, not because they may or may not be the program director. In a lot of school districts, they're not the program director. It could be somebody who's a aspiring administrator who's the program director. It could be just a teacher, but sometimes it is the building administrator. I will say if it's the building administrator, the board has to approve that just because they want to make sure that is separate above and beyond their contract. It would be just like they're working for the Y and they're coming here and working here and they're doing that completely separate. So I don't have a recommendation at that point. But what I do ask is that, if you have concerns, let me know the concerns. But we've got just a few weeks here in front of us that we've got a lot of work to do to make sure that it feels like a good fit for our kids.
Age restrictions?
Excuse me?
Age restrictions?
So, there's a little bit of gray area with preschool.
Or what qualifies.
Right, there's a little bit of gray area with preschool, but other than that, it would be whatever building, so in the elementary it'd be K-12 or K-5, so.
Yeah. And you look at 10 different plans, you see 10 different things, 10 different schools, 10 different plans. Some go K-12, some are just elementary, some are just, it's just depends.
That's why I was wondering, it can go all the way to high school.
Yes. What I just don't want to do is bite off more than we can chew.
Sure.
Is really, and so I'm not trying to pin the plan on any of the principals in back. See, Mrs. Hughes already left. She already stepped out. But anyway, a lot of work to do in the next few weeks. If you guys have this information, you review it, and you have any thoughts, reach out to us, because we've really got to dig in here over the next several days to decide if this is going to be a good fit for us. But really, just presentation just to give you the information. But before we apply for the grant, we'll want approval by the board.
Something worth looking into again.
Is there any minimum that we have to hit?
50,000 a year is minimum, 400 is
50,000?
max.
No, not the minimum award, I'm talking about participation. Is there a minimum number of students?
I haven't found that information
Okay, just curious.
explicitly yet. It's not to say it's not in that stuff. Okay, sure. Thank you.
Ms. Gillen, thank you.
Thank you.
MSBA 26A update.
We just got this probably 3 or 4 days ago. So we'll get that to you just in advance. So a lot of things in there. Please take time to review that over the month, and we will bring it back next month.
26-27 career letter plan. Ms. Gilman, you got that.
I submitted the draft form of our career letter plan for next year. So we have to apply by April 30th for next year's participation. So that's why you're seeing it now. I have a rough estimate of teachers that are interested in it. It's a little different every year. One of the things I will say is the state guidance, since it's come out, it's been pretty much the same. Like, it's been the same language in the state. Like, they give us a model plan that is copied, that's what we use. And so I will say that there have been there's one big significant change this year as opposed to the last couple of years that we participated in this. And one of those things are the wording for teacher certification of those teachers who are eligible to participate in Career Ladder has changed from the word appropriate certification. Our district, we have uncertified teachers that have a sub-certificate, and we deemed that appropriate for that position for that year. And so now the wording says professional certificate. And so I reached out to the state for their definition of a professional certificate, and it's very clear, every teacher that participates in this has to at least have an IPC, which is their initial professional certificate for teaching. So we have to have a teacher that is fully certified in any area, to participate in career ladder. So that's the biggest one. It affects about 5 of our teachers currently, before they receive their certificate, their initial one, so. And there's some smaller changes, that they've taken off. I think that the state's trying to like broaden their language on just make sure that this is what's best for your district, it aligns with your CSIP, and we're gonna stop nitpicking everything. So there's a few things that they've changed in the guidance that kind of reflects that. That, I mean, those are the high points of the difference from last year to this year. Do you guys have any questions?
Co-op employees will still be eligible?
Yes, and that was one of the changes that they said, like, there were some really strict, like, requirements for the participants, and one of those was that not everybody who does this is a certified teacher. We have people in the co-op that are eligible for this, so.
So we haven't made that decision, they're eligible,
Right,
but none of that, we haven't decided that, not that we're not going to, but I just want to make sure we're not approving anything on that tonight.
Yeah.
So that would start our budget planning, it'll be all in our budget.
Okay.
But they are eligible.
yeah, the state says.
I say they're eligible, some of them are not. Some of the
Yeah.
co-op members are not eligible.
Yeah.
It's according to whatever they're coded as in the district.
What slots are not, what positions are not eligible?
OT,
OT,
CODA, SLPA.
yes.
Do you have the breakdown of stages and participation?
As far as how many we have, or
Yeah.
just the stages?
Yeah.
Those are all in there.
Page 4.
That's the stages. I was wondering how many we had in stage 1, how many we had in
Oh,
stage
the number.
I have that information, and I think that's on tap for the May board meeting, maybe.
I
don't
was just
remember
curious
now.
of participation of people involved.
I did, just jot down, we had 63 participants this year that we, yeah. Any questions? Yes.
Make the motion to approve the 26-27 career district career ladder. Second.
Those in favor? Any opposed? Dr. Coakley, you're up. Fiscal year budget amendment.
Yes, in your packet, we've talked about this. This is just normal protocol to bring a budget amendment in the spring. And you have that in front of you. Just to hit a couple highlights, it just falls that I've got this, and I've also got the actually expenditure report, so some of this is going to be duplicated, and I apologize for that. So I'll try not to double up on you. But as you can see with the numbers that we have, we're going to have a small adjustment. The major, and I'll get into this in the expenditure presentation. The largest variable to the budget amendment is our state adequacy targets. And I'm trying to communicate that with you guys just a little bit. And so I'm conservatively putting in that lowest number, okay? And that is why we're seeing that significant, and I'll address that a little bit more in the presentation, but I wanted to make sure I was erring on the conservative side of that state adequacy target. The number that I started off using was the governor's recommendation at 7145, and we just haven't seen it. And I'm not certain that we're going to see it unless something just magical happens in the next couple of months. I just don't know that we're going to see it. So I'm erring on a conservative side for the state adequacy target again. My original budget included 7145, and I am using 6950 as the state adequacy target. So that's kind of what our administrative groups are encouraging us to use, and so that is the largest change in the budget. Just for a point of reference, when you jump from 6950 to 7145, the difference is $191,712. So that is that's a significant change in our budget. Hopefully, I'm incorrect on that, but I did want to get down to the wire and not communicating in a conservative way. So again, that is the state advocate at 6950. That is the single largest reason for the change in fund balance. And again, I'll get into that a little bit more in detail, but I'll be glad to field any questions. I broke that down for you in your boards, in the board submittal, as far as the individual adjustments. If you have any questions about any of that, I would field any question that you have on any of that.
Motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
I'll say it.
Any other questions? Those in favor? Any opposed? Sweet.
Hello.
So over the weekend, we had prom and after prom. Both I hear was a success, and after prom, people had a lot of fun. Today, tennis is at Liberty, baseball is at Norwood, and softball is at Dixon. In the upcoming weeks, the 15th to the 17th is the FFA Convention Expo. On the 18th is the Scholar Bowl Districts, and 19th is the Winter Sports. And then student council applications have been sent and submitted as of today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We've been busy at the elementary school. We completed our end of the year math diagnostic for iReady. I will not have those results for you until May because we don't do reading until after math testing, and I want to be able to give you both subjects at the same time. So hopefully I will have those for you at the next meeting. Second grade had a great time at the Wild Animal Safari this month. The PSP dental event was on August 10th. Our first one was back in October, so this one was our second one. Our Health Ops class did assist with this, so 94 students got that second dose of fluoride. Preschool screenings, they started back in March, will officially conclude here at the end of the week. So as of the 9th of April, including screenings that we still have scheduled but haven't happened yet, they will be happening this week. We have 25 3-year-olds that we've screened and 30 4-year-olds that we've screened. So as of now, we're at 55 at the Early Childhood Center. So with that projection of 55 students, we're looking at 3 teachers next year. It gives us 5 openings for screenings that might take place in August. So it's going to be important for us to make sure that we look at everything before we potentially add another teacher. We never know how many kids we're going to screen in August. We've had years where we've screened 3 or 4. We've had years where we've screened 12 to 15. And so without getting to August and knowing that that's going to happen, it will be important for us to make sure that that's what we need to do moving forward with a 4th teacher. But as of right now, we're good at 3. We've already talked about it, and it looks good at 3. We've got a little bit of wiggle room for incoming students, and then you might be hearing from us in August about potentially that, but we need to kind of take a pause on that right now. Oh, I'm not done. Sorry, I was just giving an update on preschool, but I can be done if I can. Kindergarten, they took their field trip as well. They went to the Breakthrough in Rolla, which is a new venue for us. Had a great time. It's kind of like, I think, kind of like Itty Bitty City used to be in Springfield. Really good time. Apparently there are massage recliners for all of the parents and teachers that supervise, so everybody had a good time. We have started all of our special education map testing. We celebrated National Assistant Principals Week. Shout out to Mr. Pitts. I do want to thank the Community Betterment and the Arts Council. They've started the kindergarten bike program. They still have one more day of that left, but it is a great program that teaches bike safety. All of our kindergartners get a bike helmet, and then when it's completely done, they donate 2 bikes that we draw 1 boy, 1 girl for. So that will be happening soon. Dr. Benoist has started her Tar Wars presentations. Our Title I Spring Advisory meeting was not on the 9th, it was actually today, so we did get that taken care of today. And we've started map testing this week in grades 3 through 5. We're holding steady at 460 students for enrollment. Upcoming events, our iReady reading assessments will take place when we are done with math. 3rd grade field trip is happening. 5th grade field trip, kindergarten circus, is coming up on the 24th. Our book fair in the spring is always a big hit. It's our buy one, get one. That's coming up as well. Field day, 4th grade field trips, preschool graduation, the district award ceremony, and then finally make it to last day parties, which you all are always invited to. So.
When is math testing over for 3rd and 5th grade? Is it Thursday or Friday?
I think we're done this week. I think it's just 1 week. Yeah, I think we're done this week with
On Friday.
what?
On Friday.
Friday. Yeah, we have one session for 4th grade, I believe, on.
I just have it up on our board.
Oh, yeah, we're done, and then
Says good luck.
we'll still have makeups, but officially we are done. We're done Friday. Yeah. So, any other questions?
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Okay, you have my board report. Our current percentage for this month, attendance is at 94.3117, so 94%. Disciplinary actions are there. There's a few things extra I wanted to add here besides what is on the report. Our track kids are really kicking it again this year. We had some new school records set by Miles Copley, Oliver Choate, Nola Manier, and then Liam Stickle, Aaron Norris, Charlie Benoist, and Oliver Choate in the group race. So they're really doing good and proud of them. On May 5th, we have our showcase at the end of the year that's science, social studies, ELA. Everybody's gonna have everything in the Hyatt gym. So that is from 5:30 to 7 if you guys would like to attend that and see the kids work. And our map testing started today for special education, and then we'll start on the 27th and run through May 8th for the middle school. So, anybody have any questions?
How was your dance turnout?
It was great. We had fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you have a copy of my report. To highlight a few things, we are proud that we also are holding a decent proportional attendance for April, 3.29% this time of year. That's higher than we've seen the last few years this time of year, so we're proud of that. Our band and choir recently competed in a state large ensemble in the Misha State Large Ensemble Festival, and both received outstanding ratings. I know band received gold, which they hadn't received since 2014. So shout out to both of those programs. They represented us very well. Did an excellent job. I think Miss Sarah had mentioned our FFA. They have a lot of things listed here because they are a busy chapter, but they, probably one of their biggest things is that they are leaving tomorrow morning at 7:30 for their state convention. We have several teams that made it to state and will be competing, so we wish them lots of luck. To highlight some events that they also have coming up on Emmett Kelly Day. They're going to have, that's April 25th, they're going to have their spring plant sale available as well as a labor auction. And shout out to their Friends of the Houston FFA. So this is like a new parent group that they formed this year and have been a huge supporter for them. And they are facilitating this fundraiser and this event for our FFA. And so they've put a lot of work in. You can see there they meet every month. They're always assisting in the events or competitions that we're hosting, and they've been a great asset to that chapter. So shout out to all of those supporters as well. Let's see. Our Scholar Bowl will host districts right here at Houston on Saturday. We wish them lots of luck. Our Skills USA competed again in state last weekend, or Thursday and Friday. And shout out to TOG Fabrication for providing brand new welding shirts and gift bags for those students, those welders that were participating in that Skills USA competition. We really appreciate their support every year. The Lest We Forget exhibit honoring the Holocaust survivors will be set up April 22nd. This is going to be set up for several days, but please note that the artist, Luigi Toscano,
may have mispronounced that, but he's going to be here for an assembly on April 30th for our middle school and high school during the afternoon, but he's also going to hold a community assembly at 5 p.m. that evening. So we want to get the word out and hope that we have a good turnout for that. We're excited about that event. And we held our open house for PRTC on March 30th. We had a great turnout. Health Science also, in conjunction, had their family and friends stick night. So we had lots of people come in there just to give some blood, but they also enjoyed the tour of the new facility, the renovated facility as well. So, do you have any questions? All right, thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
I don't know if you recall, but I mentioned that one of our districts was going through an on-site finance monitoring. I did hear from Leslie Porter today from DESE. There were minor changes that they needed to make, but the one thing that she specified for the co-op was we needed to track crop share. And I would say that Houston does a really good job of tracking that. And so I have shared what we do at Houston with all of our districts so that maybe it'll make that process easier. Also, you might have noticed that attached is a survey from DESE. If you have comments that you would like to make about what co-ops do or grant funding, please send those to me and I will make sure they get to Mark Wheatley at DESE. Any questions for me? Thank
Do you
you.
want to mention our 2 new recent ads?
Sure. Dora and Kabul are joining the co-op for next year. Dora, completely new to the co-op. Kabul has been with us before. This was their tiered monitoring year, so we're happy about that because next year's a big year for us. And they will be using us for all of our ECSE services. They will be using us for testing, academic, IQ, OT, and speech.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
I am just here to give you a little update on the ESSA identification. You may have seen the report about our ATSI status, which is additional targeted supports and improvement. This is not the first time we've been in that status. We've been in it since 2018 from what I know. It's a little hard to track that information, but in front of you, you should have just some basics. How our school is identified. It's very similar to APR, except it's a totally different index score. It does use the same kind of information: academic achievement, academic growth, or graduation rate, English language proficiency, and attendance. And then those are weighted to give us index scores for each school. The lowest 5% of schools are then identified as what's considered a comprehensive support and intervention school. And we fall into our status as ATSI because we have a subgroup, which would be our students with disabilities, that were identified with a score equal to that of the lowest performing 5% of the total student population. So it's a little bit of a puzzle as to how they come up with that number separately, but that is how we're identified. We will get out of that status when we continue to show improvement in identified areas for 2 of the most recent 3 years, and then aren't re-identified in the new rounds. Those numbers change, the index scores change every single year. They've changed pretty significantly over the last couple of years. And so it's impossible to predict that you won't be in those numbers, but we are not alone in that. There are 102 schools identified in that status. Our elementary is out this year, which is good. We have previously been identified in all buildings, but elementary is out. We're still in at high school and middle. Best I can figure, it is middle school math and potentially our LND at the high schools that re-identified us in this last round. So those are target areas for me to work on and make sure that we're improving scores there. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
I was just going to give a quick update that you might see summer school enrollment is starting. You've probably seen, if you're a parent, you've probably seen that from the different buildings. And so we're starting with that process, and then that's similar to last year. We'll bring a personnel recommendation for summer school next month, so that you guys can approve that. That will start that last month, and you'll have eyes on that, and then maybe coordinating with summer school planning is taking shape, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've got, just share a couple of dates. An SBA safety conference is April 22nd through 24th in St. Louis, and then the summer summit is June 14th through 16th, and that's at Terra for the board members and investors.
Okay, I've got 3 things on there, and 2 of them are pretty quick. CSIP update, just really quick, you probably have noticed that surveys are starting to go out. Parent surveys will go out by the end of this week. Student surveys have already been deployed. We've had 345 just checked today, 345 responses from students for our student survey, so that's good. Just as a reminder, number 1, best practice, survey your stakeholders, that's number 1, and reflect on that. Number 2 is a requirement of M76, and so we deployed those. We've also deployed the staff survey, and to date we've received 81 respondents, and so our CCC team will be taking that information in conjunction with the parent survey and starting to crunch that and see if there's anything in there to inform our comprehensive school improvement planning efforts. So far, good respondents on that, but again, parent survey, parent and kind of community survey will go out before the end of the week. The next one is just budget development. Gonna be it here on the screen. There are a lot of slides here, and I'm going to go through this quickly. Pause me and ask any questions on any of them, but some of it is rinse and repeat, okay? Because it's important that we continue to talk about the information from current year moving into next year. Here are the items that we're going to talk about. The entire presentation is really, I'm not going to be boring you. It's kind of far.
In case anyone needs to see it. But an app would be okay.
But it's going to be all about expenditure side. Next month is going to be on the revenue side, so we'll break that down. We're going to talk really quick about communication. You guys have seen this a million times, but we're March through June for information sharing with the Board of Education. The next one is the communication calendar. We're here in April, and we're going to focus on expenditure budget review for FY 26 and start talking about how it informs FY 27 planning. The purpose of the review, right there's 4 items. Monitor the expenditure for FY 26 and financial position. Review the budget amendments. We talked already about it with the last budget amendment already. Current projections, identify cost drivers and financial risk, and inform priorities for FY 27 budget development. To kind of sum all of that up, my hope is that we're able to kind of digest kind of where we're at as far as expenditures and then start kind of processing, because the ultimate goal for us as a board and staff is to be thinking about prioritization for FY 26 and where we want to go. We all have a lot of things that we want, including me, for the district, but it will be about prioritizing those. And so I want to present this information for you to digest. I would also encourage you, if you have any questions, it's a lot to take in, especially when I go through this, fairly fast. Once you get the information, you digest it, and you want to talk further, you want to jump in deeper, feel free to get with me, and I'd be glad to go through this with you, with anyone regarding the expenditures, revenues, or any of it for that matter. Current financial position for FY 26. These numbers are based on the amendment that was approved tonight. So you can see that the revenue change as far as net impact to the fund balance is $253,569. Again, talked a little bit about the expenditure change. We talked about the revenue change. That is going to be primarily geared toward the SAT. Again, it incorporates much more than the SAT, but the SAT is the biggest factor in change. So you can see with the amendment, we've got a net impact of $253,000. The revenue breakdown of those monies, you can see the change. Again, the highest number going to be at the state level. The expenditure breakdown, you can see the changes there. Salaries and benefits, around $52,000 change. Expenditures down. Purchase service up, $21,000. Supplies up that amount, and that is going to be the largest contributing factor to that is going to be our food cost, or the escalation of food cost. It's not everything, but it is out of all of the supply accounts, food cost is the biggest change. And then you can see the capital and debt changes there, and we'll jump into all of those specifically. Fund balance. I just want to pause here because that's kind of where it boils down to. I want to give you a fund balance summary while we really focus on fund balance percentage because that's operational and that kind of what operates kind of the district. But I also don't want to ignore kind of fund balance summary. Beginning fund balance, the beginning of the year was 6.08 and ending fund balance projected is 4.8 million. Change of 1.28 million. What I want to say is all of this comes with a story and context. Okay, I need to stress that. Okay, I want to give you one example. For example, our limited access grant. We may have received the funding for that particular grant in FY25, so it was on the revenue books in FY25, but the expenditure fell in FY26. Okay, so all of those details are not going to always be on here. Okay, these are really to kind of maybe create the question for you to ask. I can't hit everything, but I just want to say there's a lot of context to this. But jumping to the right side is kind of the operating fund balance percentage. And that's going to be those codes 1, 2, and 6. Okay, your 10, 20, and 60 codes. We were projecting that we were going to end the year at around 22.7. Okay, I'm now projecting 21.3, and that's based on that conservative approach with the SAT. I keep saying that our target range is 24 to 26%. That's not anything that the board approves. The board at some point may want to consider approving a minimum fund balance. That's up to the board to decide. Some school districts do it, some don't. But I want to be transparent in what my goal is as the superintendent, is that our target range is 24 to 26%. Okay, so that as we plan into FY27, that is something we have to keep in mind. We can't continue to deficit spend. We need to stay moving forward to that target area. I just, in that little black box, just broke that down for you as far as the SAT scenario and the difference. If that changed from 6950 to 7145, you can see what that does to our fund balance, 22.5%. Just as a rough estimate for you, when you're wondering how much does it change the fund balance 1%? It's about $120,000 to $130,000. Okay, so just kind of some perspective. You're thinking about what we need to do differently or change something to get to a fund balance goal that we have. Just kind of think about that dollar amount, and that changes every single year because the denominator changes every single year. But that just gives you an idea. Like if we want to get to 24%, what are we going to have to do? We may have to cut this amount of dollars. So I thought that was good to know. At the bottom there, our fund balance is projected to decline 21.3%, and I've already said all that. So any questions on fund balance? I'm going to just pause just a second because I want to say is that I would just ask again, create those things that are priority for you as we go into FY26. Everyone, we're made up of a lot of different minds here, and we all have individual priorities. When we come together and we really start honing in on FY27, we are going to have to come to consensus on those things. But and really what's out in front of us is ensuring that we're operating efficiently and making sure we're getting to that, I believe, shooting to get to that 24 to 26%, which means the pie doesn't grow. That means something potentially has to go. And so just something to keep in mind. Any questions on that fund balance? My goal is that at the end of the legislative session or at the end of the school year, we're able to celebrate that the SAT came in higher. And I would say that there's a lot of schools that will be celebrating at that point. All funds managed by the districts, there's 4 primary funds. Funds 1 and 2 represent operating funds. Funds 2 and 4 can be supported by the operating levy. This is just a breakdown based on our numbers right now. I'll give you time to kind of digest that. This is not much different than what you've seen in the past as far as the breakdown. With a little bit of a difference in Fund 40, we've invested a significant amount of money in capital projects, and that's due in part to the limited access grant that we received. Because that doesn't break that down by local or state at this point, it's just saying what we spent. So as you guys know, we've received those grants, and so that is why that capital projects slice of pie has increased this year. But you can see at the very top that the overall expenses in all of the funds is about 17.5 million. Any questions there? Types of expenditures. Again, not much different than the past. salary benefits combined is 67%, and you can see the amount there. We've been closer to the 70% amount. The difference is the amount of money that we've spent, again, in Fund 4 on those capital projects this year, which offset that just a little bit. But generally speaking, very similar to most school districts in Missouri, is that you're spending around 70% in salary and benefits. One thing to keep in mind is that does not include our sub costs from NMAC. They are considered a purchase service. Just a little bit diving into funds 1 and 2. You can see the breakdown right there. Fund 10 generally is going to be non-certified employees. Fund 20 is going to be your teacher fund, teachers and other certificated employees. Salary benefit general information breakdown. Just important information to keep in mind. Total employees, we've got that broke down for you. The percentage as far as retirement match and other benefit percentages that are required of us, and then some insurance information on the bottom there that most of you know already. There's several slides that are coming up, and they're all broken down by object code, which may not mean much to you, okay? But really, the key takeaway is, again, that salaries and benefits make up about 67% of our entire operating budget, which is consistent with Missouri District Schools. Again, it's important to kind of show that broke out so that you can see it. Again, a lot to digest. You may take a look at this later and have questions on it, but wanted to have that information very transparently in front of you as far as that breakdown. So we've got those broke down there. So that's 61, the 61 codes are going to be your salaries. The next slide is going to be the benefit breakdown. Let's digest that. The next one is purchase service and supplies function areas. There are generally 3 functions in supplies and purchase services, and that's going to be 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. And you can see the focus areas there, so it breaks it down in terms of how much we're spending on purchase service and supplies and the defined amount. The grand total for purchase services and supplies for FY26 is about $3.3 million. This is going to be a breakdown by purchase service, and again, a lot to digest here. I'll kind of let you digest it, give questions. I'm glad to field it, but it just breaks it down a little bit further for you. Any questions on those purchase service? The next one is to break down supplies. For FY26, we're looking at projecting spend about 1.6, 1.7 million. Any questions so far? The next one's Fund 3 and Fund 4. Obviously, I prepared this. I wasn't thinking that LJ Hart was necessarily going to be here. So LJ Hart pretty much presented our debt service. So I'm going to move pretty quick through that. But I do want to pause on our capital projects. As you can see up there, FY26, we're slated to spend a little over 1.6 million in capital projects. You can see the description there. I think it's always good to kind of recenter ourselves on what kind of fits the category for capital projects. As you guys know, our biggest capital project expenditure this year has been our renovation to the RTC. Capital projects, Fund 4 does have a carryover balance. Every year there's a guaranteed transfer. You can see those amounts on there for FY 25 and 26. Capital project expenditure breakdown, just like I showed you with all the others. This is the breakdown for capital projects. As you can see, one thing I want to point out here, actually I'll get to in just a minute. The total for capital projects there is 1.547. I'm gonna go, any questions on our debt service? This information that I have is gonna be dated already to this. We have our lease certificate of participation, lease purchase, all of that's gonna be old. I'm gonna pause on this one because I think that this sometimes resonates with people. When we're calculating, or when we're expending things, we all generally give them a project code. I know I've heard just a few questions regarding kind of like the what is the project code, why do we have them? That changed, Ms. Bethany, when did that change when we had to start adding project codes? 2015, 2016, the accounting manual started, and the Department of Education started requiring school districts to attach these project codes just for good tracking. And so it does make the budget a little bit thicker. It does make it more lengthy, but we have to attach a project code. So we have every every expenditure has to fall into one of these. So as you can see, the grand total for expenditure still is that 17.6 million, but it just breaks it down into the particular projects. I did keep some of the grants on there at $0 just to kind of remind you of what some of those one-time expenditures were. If you see anything on there that kind of sparks a question, I mean, let's see if any of those. A lot of information. Any specific questions on any of the projects? Key sites and looking ahead. Just a couple highlights. There's a lot of things, but I just want to highlight just a couple things that really impact your kind of planning for FY27. Is keep in mind the limited access grant PRTC renovation. That'll swing your budget planning. So just keep in mind overall expense for that project. I've got the amount down there, and that's going to be combined local and state match. Also, just as a reminder, we were on the tail end this year of finishing up our cop safety grant. Okay, so you would see that reflection, but that grant cycle has been closed out. Land purchase, I highlighted this because as you guys know, we did purchase a couple pieces of property this year. The building trades purchased that through the proceeds of the sale of their houses, previous houses. One thing I just want to it's something for the board to keep in mind. And it does pose challenge when you're looking at your fund balance percentage and your fund for. So when we build a house, historically, when we've built a house, the funds that we've used has come out of that student activity account because the proceeds of that house historically have went into that, okay? So that's been money in, money out, and that's an easy way to track that. Well, when you sell a house, those funds have to come, when you purchase property, those funds have to come out of Fund 4. They can't come out of your operating funds in Fund 60, okay? So what does that do? That could throw you off on your budget planning because where you didn't anticipate spending $123,000 in land to come out of Fund 4, you've got to transfer now that money from an operational account to Fund 4, and so then operationally, it looks like you maybe didn't budget well, okay? But it would be a transfer of those funds. The building trades house, it did buy it, but for accounting purposes, it has to come out of Fund 4. And so that's just something that I kind of want to bring to your attention as we buy property or as we sell the house. That's important for us to note if we anticipate selling a house or buying land. We really need to kind of pause and make sure that we all understand how that impacts overall fund balance percentage. Just another example of kind of like there's maybe more to the story, more context to the story. Food supplies, that was the biggest probably contributing factor. It was the biggest contributing factor to our supply budget. It actually, if you looked at just food supplies, it was higher than $46,000. But again, that is, Mrs. Chris has done a good job applying for some grants. And so we did get a couple grants to help offset food costs, but it was still pretty high. Two things. Number one is food costs are higher. And the second part is our CP participation is higher than it was last year, higher than we would even anticipated. And so we made some changes to, our CEP kind of rollout, and our participation rates have increased. And so between those two, that's why we're seeing food supplies increase. Bus replacement, so where I'm talking about what increased expenditures, I've got a few things, kind of larger factors that decrease our expenditures for this particular year. The previous year, we purchased a bus, and so this year we didn't have that on our books, so that is a $151,000 difference. Prior year expense, if you recall, there was when we engaged in MOQBK, we changed over from title to MOQBK last year. We had to make a prior year correction of $71,000. So that was a last year expense that we didn't have this year, and so that also shows that, that I guess would help our budget this year. So I wanted to highlight not only things that increase our expenditures, but also decrease our expenditures. You've seen this last time, but it doesn't go away. What does it mean for FY27? These things we have to keep in mind. And I would just kind of ask for your kind of methodical thought on, as we get in FY27, we have a goal in front of us to make sure that we're operating efficiently. And so I want to know what the priorities are of our board, because you represent the community. And I just ask that we kind of be really thoughtful and mindful about what those things are when we come to the table for FY27 budget, knowing where we have to land with an operational fund balance. And so I would just ask for all of us to kind of keep that in mind. We have to keep in mind the one-time grants and for example, line purchase costs. Those are all things that, all the work that I will be doing, but just wanted to kind of mention those there. Core cost, salary, benefits, insurance, those are all ongoing pressures. Those are not changing, those are not going away. And so in the balance of potentially a loss of state revenues, the pressures of all those things still don't go away. So we have to be creative in thought and think about how to spread the pie equitably and meet the priorities of the board. Future decisions will require prioritization, monitoring revenue, state and local, and then make sure we're aligning to our district goals. Just added this on here, kind of what you can expect in upcoming meetings. If we need another budget amendment, which we always have one at the end of the year, so that would be coming just as a regular process. Our revenue budget presentation will be next month, and continue to monitor legislative impacts. Our cost projection for salary schedules and wage recommendations will all be coming within the next month, within the next meeting or two, and then update on recommendation for changes from FY26 to FY27. A lot of information. What questions do you have? That's all I have.
Any patron comments? Any for the next board meeting?
I move we set the next board meeting, May 19th, 2026, here in the Library and Media Center at 5:30.
Second.
Those in favor?
Not being